So this will be the second video of me explaining the topic software lifecycle process. So in the first video, I would recommend you to watch that first. In that video, I explained the definition and the key points of this software lifecycle process and how and why do we use it. And also we covered the initiation workflow. So in this I'll be explaining the requirement workflow and the analysis workflow, right? So from the last video we stopped on initiation workflow. So what happened till there, like we have created a plan that and the feasibility we have created a plan, and we have the feasibility study and the risk analysis of the high level. We are at the high level right now. So now we have decided that we are going to build this project. We have accepted the project. So we will now move to the requirement workflow. We have 4 points. Let me change the color of it. Yeah, that's so good. So first is requirement gathering. In requirement gathering, we will conduct meetings with the stakeholder and ask them about the information. We collect all the information from the client. Relevant, irrelevant, it doesn't matter. In the gathering phase we just have to collect every information. We don't have to think whether this is contradicting with the other requirement. This is not part of this point. We are at the gathering, we have to gather each and everything from the client. So it can be in natural language, and it can be in natural language and anything. So now gathering, just understand one thing: we have to gather everything. We don't know, like we don't have to see like gathering, like we don't have to miss out or brainstorm on the requirement at the moment. Now, second is requirement analysis. Requirement analysis. So now this is the point where we'll actually sit down and see the requirements. What we'll do, we will check all the requirements thoroughly. Are there any requirements missing? Are there any requirements which are contradicting with each other? So in the analysis part, we'll make sure that every requirement are clear and are not contradicting with each other. And in this requirement analysis, we'll part down our requirements into three things. First is the need, requirement, and the wish itself. So this gives us a clear idea of what we are actually achieving, what are the requirements. And in this part we also create function and non-function requirements in this part, like what user is expecting from us, what are the functional requirements and non-functional requirements. So in this we ask ourselves, are there any conflicting requirements? Are the requirements clear? Are requirement clearly illustrating the project? Once we have ensured everything, now we move on to validating and freezing. Now the last set we have created, in the gathering and gathered the raw information, and then in the analysis we modeled it in a particular way, in a structured way. We structured the requirement. Now validating, we'll take the final list of requirement that we have created to the client. We'll validate with him, and we'll show him the requirements. Once he will see it, and if he sees any, like, if he sees any gap in the idea, he will give us the requirement, and or if we see any gap, we'll ask for those requirements. And once the final set is validated, what we'll do, we'll document it. We'll create an SRS of those documents. So that covered this point, and this requirement gathering, validating and documenting. Now the point 4 is freezing. So what do we do in freezing is, like, we like, what do we do, like the final SRS we have created now. So we'll freeze that document. Now we'll make a condition of the document. It's not, the condition would be, now we cannot directly change the requirement. I mean, so this is very important. We cannot directly change the requirement. Now from this freezing point, every change in the requirement must go through the change management workflow, which I'll explain in the upcoming videos. So that's very important. Now no change can be made without going through the change management process. Document is freezes. Even customer request us that change, we cannot do that because we have freeze the requirement. Moving on to the next phase is analysis workflow, and its first point is sorting in domain. Let me highlight it from left to right. When I am doing right to left, it is making a mess in the video. Sorry for those guys. Sorry for this guys. I'll try to do better in the next videos. Right. So the phase 3 is the analysis workflow. Analysis workflow is about organizing the freezed requirement into the logical group, which are called domains. So the first point is sorting in domain. So the requirements from the SRS are grouped into logical areas. We just answer the question which requirement belong to the which part of the system. So we sort the requirements into domain and the parts of the system they will work for. At this time till there we have all the requirement in one place. Now we'll sort those requirements like which belong to whom. So example, like if you are creating an online exam system, we have two system entities. First, like three system entities. I'm just imagining it, right? I'm not building the whole thing. If you will build the whole thing, you will need more than that. So admin, teacher and student, these are the main entities. So we'll sort our requirement accordingly. What are the requirements that belong to the student? What are the requirements that are part of the teacher domain, and what are the requirements that will go with the admin, and what are the requirements that are shared between them. So we'll answer these, then we'll do validation. Like then the next point is validating domain. What do we do in this validating domain? We will check if every domain is clearly illustrating its point. Are there any contradicting requirements in the domain? Are we able to understand the domain clearly? And most importantly, does the client agree with our grouping? Right. So now the tool support, it isn't a point actually. It's just the tool we'll use. It's for modeling. What will be the modeling? We'll design the like a UML use case diagram or any diagram. We'll design a use case diagram for this, and we'll show our entities and the actors and the entities of the system. So let me correct myself. In the validating domain, I said the student, teacher and the admin were the entities. Those were the actors. So sorry about that. But still, everything else was correct. We'll sort that accordingly, according to their actors and looking how they are working. Entities would be the function inside they would be connecting to, like student will log in and check his result. Teacher would also have to log in and upload the result, right? So tool support. I hope this covers these 2 points. In the upcoming video I'll try to cover the next topic. So this is it for today. I hope you have gathered the information that you are here for. And before leaving this, I'm gonna say just please subscribe to this video. Subscribing won't cost you anything, but it will give me the motivation to create these kind of video more. Thank you for staying till the end.